So by the end of the day, he came up with an Excel sheet with primary, secondary, tertiary roles and responsibilities that he would like to take up at Design Brewery. With that, I had no other choice to just say yes. So he changed my mind, and I think it was a very, very good decision.
Welcome to My Best Hire. I'm your host, Rajeev Soni. On this show, we decode how great leaders identify exceptional talent and how outstanding professionals become invaluable to their organizations. Through in depth conversations with executives and business leaders, we uncover both sides of the success equation, helping leaders build stronger teams while showing professionals how to stand out and make a lasting impact. So, whether you are building teams or looking to advance your own career, join us as we explore the stories of remarkable talent and the leaders who recognize their potential. Today on the podcast, we have Prashasti Ranjan with us. She is a very good friend and she runs an amazing design agency by the name of Design Brewery. Prashasti, so glad to have you on the podcast. Over to you. Thank you. Thank you, Rajiv, for having me here. It's been a pleasure knowing you throughout these years. I'm glad that you saw us as friends rather than, the client vendor relationship that we started off with. I think we've evolved from there. So it's great to know you and to be here on this podcast. I'll start with a little bit about Design Brewery. So, Design Brewery is around creating digital products. So, we build SaaS platforms, we build mobile apps, we build websites. But the catch here is that, we work towards not just aesthetic appeal, but we work towards building products which actually, leave an impact for the client. So, we need to ensure that there's lesser bounce off rates, there's better retention and more engagement with the user. So those are the kind of aspects that we are working towards. We are also helping build brands altogether. So we have helped, think about the brand positioning, understand the market gap, figure out where we want to position the brand and differentiate them from all the competition existing, and how that identity can be so distinct and beautiful and stunning that it helps the business establish itself. I actually come from a design background. I did my bachelor's from NIST and master's from IIT Bombay. uh, Design has been with me since childhood. I was very fond of sketching, was very fond of these session breaks that used to happen between standards between classes. And I used to love that long gap because there was nothing to study during that time and parents would not ask me for that. So I had all this free time to just sketch. It started from there, and that passion grew further. I appeared for these exams for NIFT, NID, IIT without even studying for them. And I cleared all of them in the first attempt. I really enjoyed taking those exams. I was called in for interviews for all of these three prestigious institutions. I actually topped the SEED, which is the exam for IIT. And I had the opportunity to, actually study at either IIT Guwahati, Kanpur, Bombay. So I then decided to go ahead with IIT Bombay and I did my industrial design from there. After that, I kind of dabbled into a few jobs here and there. And when after that, kind of decided that I wanted to start up on my own because I wanted to do it all. I wanted to do graphic design. I wanted to do marketing. I wanted to do industrial design. I wanted to do UI UX, and Design Brewery seemed like the perfect opportunity to do all of it. So that's what we've been doing. In this time, we've had the chance to work with brands such as Nissan, PepsiCo, Nestle, Glance, Delivery, WeWork, quite a few big names, and I'm really proud of where we are today. Awesome. Yes, I have seen your agency grow to where you can be proud of the amount of projects and the work that you have under your belt. We are on My Best Hire. So who are we speaking about? So as I've handpicked all of my team members for Design Brewery. Throughout this time, I've had many, many good hires, great hires. But today we'll be speaking about Nischal. Nischal joined us as a project manager. Slowly, he kind of evolved into a business manager.
and he added a lot of value to the organization. Yeah, so we'll be speaking about him today.
So let's start with a interesting incident of where Nischal made a significant difference and where maybe for the first time or maybe for the nth time, you felt that, wow, this is an amazing person that I have on my side as I build Design Brewery.
So there are not one or two incidents, I think, as you rightly put, for the nth time, and so many different instances where he added value. And I, of course, noticed that he's bringing that kind of value to the table. I would talk about two, three different instances here, probably from different areas of his focus. So first one would be for internal purposes.
Okay.
So Nischal joined us during COVID times.
Okay.
And during these COVID times, it was very difficult to handle remote teams. We had suddenly, from a physical setup, we moved to a more remote setup where everybody knew. Everybody was just suddenly working remotely. That line between office versus home was kind of little blurry. And how to manage all of that work, how to manage the team, how to make them feel good. There's so much of panic happening. There's so much of uncertainty, unpredictability happening around. So how do you ensure as a leader that things are okay and we are on track and everything is going to be fine? And how do you organize your work amidst all of this chaos that is happening outside? So first instance that I want to talk about is about that, of how he brought in that comfort for the team members and also organized all the work with respect to different line items running parallelly, how to organize all of those tasks and ensure that the team is working smoothly, is always feeling guided, comforted, and they exactly know what to deliver by when and without feeling a lot of pressure. So that's the first instance. The team felt very much at ease after he pitched in. So that is one internal instance that I can talk about.
Just to speak about it, your team did not have the experience of working remotely before, right?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Okay.
I think very much
Yeah.
like so many other companies back then, uh, where remote working was not, the way to go about things. It's only when COVID kicked in is when suddenly people were in lockdown and we were just at our desk at home. So you didn't know how to organize your work, how to not be there physically, for the employees to ask your questions instantly and get your responses, and for the leaders to actually guide, like, how do you do it over a screen? We were not used to doing that so much back then.
Exactly, and I understand. What did Nischal do exactly to make sure that the work happened and everybody felt like that they were being productive and not directionless?
Okay, so a few things. I think first was around the catch ups. So we had defined catch ups in the morning, afternoon, evening. Usually there are daily stand ups that happen only in the morning. And what he did differently was having three catch ups.
Okay.
Why? Because there will be a lot of doubts. There'll be a lot of things that you're kind of missing out on. You're not used to working just, solo in one corner of your home. You're used to working in an office space with multiple people around you. Wherever you have a doubt, oh, listen, can I ask you about this? And you get that query answered. But here you were suddenly, secluded and you didn't know who to reach out to and how to reach out to and what to do. So
Exactly.
with
No tap on the shoulder and no throwing a pencil across the room to say, hey, I need this help. Okay, you have to set up the call and you have to see whether the person is available or not. And
yeah,
then over the top, there's also a bunch of things which are happening. It was a scary time.
absolutely, absolutely. It was a very, very scary time for all of us. So yeah, I think so. The first morning calls that happened were more to do with task assignment, were more to do with who's going to do what and how are we going to have two, three team members working towards one particular project, another two, three members working towards another project, and how the tasks are going to be aligned. So everybody was aligned together on the same call. So all of us knew who is working on what. So that was the first thing that happened. In the afternoon, we used to have a call somewhere around 2 where you have probably made progress in your work. And this was just a catch up, not a detailed call where what have you been doing and what not. It was more to do with, are you stuck anywhere? Do you need help? Do you need to converse with somebody on the team? And if you're stuck somewhere, who can help you out and what can be done? That kind of helping out or guidance kind of a scenario was happening. And the third call towards the evening was to assimilate everything from the day, to collect our thoughts on, okay, today we did so and so activities, and you're kind of mentally prepared for tomorrow. I need to do so and so tasks because those are pending, or as a way forward, these are the things that I need to do tomorrow. So it kind of brought in a little bit more organization, a little bit more coordination between the parties, and support, of course, that was very, very essential in those times. So that was something that Nischal was working towards. Yeah.
Must have been nice to actually have somebody like Nischal in your corner as you are going through this time.
Absolutely.
Superb. Now I understood. Okay, this was basically one of the internal areas.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the other areas.
Yeah, so I think externally there were a couple of things that he was working towards, especially to do with filtering of leads. Soon after, he was doing project management. He also got involved in a lot of business growth. So, we would get a lot of leads, or we would get a lot of inquiries. He would do the vetting of those leads. He'd have a conversation with them first and understand what their requirements would be. So, this one particular client of ours had a requirement which was very small and just came with, say, oh, we need to just improve the look of our website. So, clients, how they are, they just have some idea of what they want, but may not understand the macro picture. So, what he brought to the table was to make them understand that it's not just about aesthetics, it is about the entire functionality or how the website is going to work and what the website is going to serve as a value to you as for getting more business from the market. He widened the horizon of the client also to understand what the website played as a role in their business and how important it is. So building that kind of foundation and making them understand, how our job is going to be important for them. And also, then, secondly, he made them understand that, it's not just about improving the website, it's also about improving the brand identity or building that aura around the brand. And so, hence, we kind of understood that we need to work towards the brand identity, the brand strategy, positioning, and then work towards the website and company profile. So these were a few bunch of items that he collected. And externally, this is one instance where why I brought this up was that it's all about listening to the client's requirements and also making them understand what they really need. Very often, the clients are very dictating with their approach. So you need to make them understand where they need to be, what they need to do to get the actual impact. He took that time to understand and to explain it to them. Once we got rolling, we went smoothly for a bit and then we hit a few roadblocks.
As you do.
As you do always. So, but here in this case, it went haywire with some vendor who was hired to develop the website. Now it went through a timeline crunch. But at the same time, Nischal handled it beautifully. It's about how you handle that difficult situation is where Nischal came in. And one thing that works really well in this situation is transparency and honesty. We came out clean to the client. There's a delay. You should be prepared and very much in advance. Did not come at the nth hour. Oh, tomorrow we cannot deliver the website. No, we came a few weeks before the actual delivery where we could foresee that there is going to be a delay, and we marked it to the client that there's going to be a delay and please be prepared for that. Of course, initially there's always that push from the client, oh, that is not going to work for us, you have to deliver it on time and this and that. But we did try to get them onto the same page, and they did. They then worked with us on the situation. How can we make this better? How can we help out so that the delivery happens closer to the timeline? Maybe not on the time, but maybe some closer date to that. So that's how I think from an external point of view, even in terms of getting the business into the company and also handling the business throughout its journey, taking care of any roadblocks that happen and foreseeing them is very important, because those things happening at the nth hour are panicky for both the client and for us. So foreseeing it and tackling them is something that Nischal was very good at, and something that I also learned to handle from him.
Let's talk about the Nischal's hiring story. We discussed before. There was actually something very interesting about his hiring as well. So can we get into that? How did you get to know about him and how did you decide to hire him?
So it was not a very typical hire. Usually you put out a job post and you have applications that you receive and you sift through and the entire process. Here it was different. This was during COVID times, as I mentioned earlier. Nobody was looking at hiring. Everybody was looking at layoffs rather. And there were a lot of layoffs happening throughout the country and worldwide. Um, Essentially, I mean, I was not in a mood to hire anybody, but Nischal came through a referral. So I obliged. I thought I'll just give him a call and nicely say no. But when I had a conversation with him, I tried to bluntly ask him, why should I hire you? And what is it that you can do for us in these difficult times? And Nischal didn't come up with vague, broad level answers. He came up with very specific aspects that he could add value to. And that got me hearing into what he had to say. He didn't just answer the question on the call. He said, why don't you wait for half a day? I will put things together on a nice sheet and share it with you on where I see myself in the organization. So it was the other way around, whereas not me who was saying this is the role and responsibility that you need to take up. Rather, it was the other way around where he came up with what roles and responsibilities he could actually take up at Design Brewery and how he saw himself adding tremendous amount of value to the organization. So by the end of the day, he came up with an Excel sheet with primary, secondary, tertiary roles and responsibilities that he would like to take up at Design Brewery. With that, I had no other choice to just say yes. So he changed my mind, and I think it was a very, very good decision.
It's amazing to hear because one of our products is also Effective Mentor, where I help candidates find the positions and present themselves well. And this has been very, very important. The criteria that I have seen with other best hires as well. They take the ownership and they take the lead early on. So here you were going into the conversation just out of an obligation because a friend referred you, and you are coming out with a person who is actually able to add tremendous amount of value to your team. And they started to add this value from get-go.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very interesting. Now we have established that Nischal was definitely a superstar and you knew about it right from the first conversation. And a working relationship is a two-way street. If he's bringing so much value to you, your team, and your company, you as a leader also have to step up that people like Nischal are taken care of and are led well. So can you tell me a bit about how did you change your thinkings? How did you change your style to specifically deal with Nischal? Or maybe you were already working with superstars before. And what does that working style look like? What are the specific modalities that you employed to make sure that Nischal not only felt that he was heard and led well, but also felt that he was valued?
So, of course, there were a lot of verbal and written appreciations personally and on team calls, so that I could show recognition of the efforts of the value that he was bringing to the table. But apart from these softer things, we actually worked towards a role expansion. So he joined us as a project manager, but soon enough, after he, started contributing so much, we decided that we need to offer him a much bigger, larger role that he feels better fulfilled with. So we promoted him to the role of a business manager with the added responsibilities of business growth and expansion. Of course, there were incentivizations, increments also offered alongside. So that was one part of it. The second part was around authority. So if he has to lead the team, he has to have certain authority over them. So I ensured that the team was reporting into him and they were answerable, so that if any requests come from his end, they are well taken care of and not just shrugged off. So that was another part. And the third aspect that we worked towards was having a future roadmap. So while we gave him a current position, what is it that he can look forward to in the future is something that we thought of. So we had a certain stepper that we had decided that, after this, he can move on to such and such level and such position and such kind of a role, and so on and so forth. So that's what we did for Nischal.
All right. So tangible benefits, of course, increments and promotions. The intangibles, appreciation, which can actually matter a lot when somebody feels heard and appreciated. And of course, higher responsibility and authority with the team to give more leeway to allow them to flourish. And one very important thing, people that often forget about it, and well, it's kudos to you and your team to actually make that happen, was to create a career path for him so that he can see into the future. Very cool. Can you talk a little bit about his relationship with your team members? How did they see him? How did they work with him? How did they perceive? And what was their relationship with Nischal?
It was a fun relationship. I think it was fun and professional. So all of us, actually loved working together. It didn't feel like work because we were having so much fun while doing it. We were organizing things better, managing things better. So there was lesser of panic, a situation that we need to deliver it tomorrow. So lesser amount of stress, which was not heard of during the COVID times as such. But we did manage to do that. So it was quite good that way. We had two proverbs or statements that we were making within the organization. One was around don't take life too seriously. Nobody gets out alive anyways. So that was a fun aspect of things. And the second aspect was around movement is not progress, which was a little bit more on the professional front and on the impact that we are able to drive. So a lot of times you will hear people say, I've been working on so and so thing. And, I've been spending hours and hours and hours together on this. But ultimately, we took time to reflect on ourselves. And we said, we're making a lot of movement. Like, we're moving a lot. We are working on this a lot. But are we actually making progress? So that was an important aspect that really helps you internalize what we are actually doing. So a lot of employees or team members actually come back saying, I put in 8 hours on this or I put 24 hours on this. But our ultimate question is, did it actually reach its goal? So that's what we should be more concerned about rather than the hours being put in. So it was ultimately a fun work association. We enjoyed working together.
Awesome. Now let's talk about you as a leader. When you work with such people, you do not come out of it without it having an impact on you, your leadership style, and even your thinking style about other people. Can you speak about that? Okay. How did that working with Nischal impact your own point of view about the work, about the people, and your own leadership? How was it impact?
Yeah, I think overall, it brought a lot of perspective. As I didn't know what I didn't know. So having Nischal on board brought in certain new new points of discussion, new areas that I wasn't aware of that were existing in the company, or things that we needed to work on were not known to me. So I think certain areas came to light that I felt that I need to work towards. So, it opened up my viewpoint. That's what I would say in conclusion. The other part is around processes and documentation. So since Nischal joined as a project manager, he was definitely very efficient in that. And being a solo founder, I was not able to take out that kind of time or prioritize the processes and documentation bits that are very obvious in large corporations, where these processes are already in place. But for a company like ours, where I was the solo founder, we were still setting things up, and Nischal helped speed up that process and prioritize that process. So I think that is something that we learned. I learned in that phase and have still kept alive. I feel the level of detailing that you get into for any big or small aspect adds a lot of value to your actual output at the end of the day.
Makes sense. And as a leader, what did you learn about how can a leader develop, maintain the best version of their team members?
So I think there are few aspects that you need to ensure that you do for your superstars or all the team members actually, but especially for the superstars. Is that these guys are budding with a lot of energy. They have a lot of talent. They have a lot of passion for what they're doing. So if the role that they are into is not challenging enough for the individual, then they are bound to feel uninterested, and you kind of just move on. The other part that has to be there is that the role has to be rewarding. So they are doing their job, they have a role that is challenging, but if they're not being rewarded or not being recognized or not being appreciated, that flame will soon die out, and it will be filled with some kind of bitterness towards the organization, that I'm doing so much, I'm contributing so much, but I'm not being rewarded, appreciated, recognized as much as I would like the company to do. That is the second aspect of being rewarded. The third aspect is around the trajectory for growth. So while I'm at a certain position, I'm being appreciated, but what next? Where do I see myself in this company after 2 years, after 3 years, after 5 years, and so on and so forth? So it's important to see yourself in the organization. Only then you will stick around. Otherwise, you'll look for greener pastures and you will move up.
You're absolutely right. In the episode number 3, I was speaking with Bindi, and she had very similar thoughts. For the superstars, for the rock stars in your team, you want to give them additional responsibilities that actually keeps them engaged. It's not about them doing their work and then moving on, but these professionals, they look for more responsibilities, more exposure, more capabilities that they can develop and deliver value for themselves as well as for the organizations. Now, as we spoke about leaders, so we need to speak about recruiters as well. How do you actually ensure you, as a recruiter, are able to bring in such people into your team?
So while recruiting, I think there are a lot of markers that you can look for to identify whether this individual is a good fit for my organization or not, and if we can go ahead with the decision. So I think first step or first instance that I really look for, no matter what role it may be, ownership is absolutely very, very important. A lot of times some candidates would shift the blame also, right? Like, I did this. If they are being questioned on a certain decision, they'd be like, oh, I did this because so and so client asked for it, or so and so senior asked for it. They're not owning their work and their decisions. They're rather shifting the blame to other people. So first step is around the ownership of their work, and also being very, very responsible for what they have done. So that is the first aspect that I look forward to. The second very important marker, but which is very not looked at so importantly, is around quick responses. How people are responding to emails, how they responsive they are to your calls, and how promptly they are joining on the interview calls, and all of that, like, in terms of their these little things that add value, because it shows their sincerity towards the role, towards the opportunity, and how they are valuing your organization as well. If they consider to you as important, they will take out the time, they will ensure that they respond and they don't ghost you. So those a couple of things. Another third aspect which everybody knows about and thinks about, but I will still call it out here, is subject matter expertise. Whatever you're hiring for, be it a designer, be it a manager, be it just a business development person, also, whatever it is, they have to have the subject matter expertise. Nothing beats subject matter expertise. Whatever you're hiring them for, ensure that they are keeping their knowledge up to date. They are taking up courses. They are reading up articles. They know about what trends are happening and what is going on in their particular area of expertise. It is absolutely essential. Otherwise, the team members are meant to stagnate and remain where they were even after getting years of experience in the field. So if you're not constantly topping up your knowledge. Soon your knowledge will be here, and the world would have reached somewhere else. So it's important that you continue to taking out that extra time to grow yourself, to grow your understanding in the subject, in that particular expertise area. So that's something, three things that I look out for, that I would say the recruiters should also look into when they are hiring.
That actually is a perfect segue because you're talking about the recruiter. In our audience, we also have professionals who are looking to actually become the best hire. What recommendation would you have for them?
Again, for the professionals, I would say, as the one of the pointers that I mentioned for the recruiters, I would say holds valid for the professionals. On the other side, they need to be punctual. They need to have those quick responses to make the company feel valued, to make the recruiters feel valued. Don't make them chase after you. Don't make them, call you multiple times, schedule the interview multiple times. These small things do have an impact. So you need to sweat the small stuff and ensure that you are responsive, and you are ensuring punctuality in all aspects. That is one part of the things. Second is a very small marker for professionals, but I would still say that it's important. It's about not being vague and underconfident with your responses, being very specific. Even if you're asking for a cup of coffee, if you have reached the venue of your interview, ask for specific details about it. I need my coffee with an extra shot of espresso, with one sachet of sugar, or multiple things, whatever you want to. But be very specific with your responses, not vague, and which makes you look very underconfident. So that's the second part that I would say is very important for professionals. Then the third part may be also, derived from how my interviews with certain designers have been. They're working towards a micro picture. They're working towards, detailing out, certain aspects of their processes. So they have worked in detail, but when you're presenting it to somebody else who knows nothing about the project, you need to talk about it from a macro picture, from what was the actual problem that you were looking at solving, how and what different aspects led you to take a certain decision, and how did you efficiently then solve the problem, and what impact did it draw. So keeping that very macro picture kind of a view, rather than going into details of, oh, I created Mana, or I created this particular information architecture. In the little time that you have with the interviewer or the recruiter, you don't have enough time to go into the depths of the project. But it's important to have a macro picture view and present that to the recruiter, rather than getting into the micro details of your project.
Nice. That actually is absolutely on point. So even with the clients that I work with, interviewers want to know and understand. You understand the complete picture. Details are important, but not in a macro picture. So start with macro and then give the interviewer an option and opportunity to dive deep in to wherever they feel they want to assess your skill set. So very apt recommendation. Prashasti, thank you so much for this conversation. We are looking forward to having you again. Thank you so much. Have a great day, and I look forward to speaking with you soon.
Thank you, Rajiv, for having me here.